A very rowdy Be a Pro continues, and once again, I'm going to use this series to essentially have it be like a Tougie's take in a way. Although making individual videos, holy shit, what a first period. Although making individual videos on each of these topics would probably be more beneficial for my channel and much more, I'd say, approachable, easier to find. It's just, time-wise, it is much easier for me to just talk about these things on a video like this, where you might have seen that I upped the period length from 10 minutes to 12. We'll see if that makes a difference. But I figured why not kill a few birds with one stone, rather than taking the time to make, well, what would be 4 different videos. I have 3 main topics I want to talk about here. But rather than making 4 different videos, if you include those 3 topics in this, why not just do it all at the same time? It makes it that much more easier. Why I went the long way around explaining this, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. But again, easier for me, and that way too, I mean, when you factor in 2 franchise mode videos, as I immediately take a tripping penalty, when you factor in the 2 franchise mode videos with the 2 Ultimate Team series, and this series as well, making 3 other videos on top of that, it can be tough, especially if I want to consistently get those other videos out. But anyway, I guess the first thing I'll do is touch up on the playoffs, because I just finished watching the second game between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Washington Capitals, and boy, that series is over, isn't it? That series is over. Is it too late to change my pick to a Pittsburgh-Edmonton Cup final? Because that looks like that's going to be it. And if I had to guess right now, the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to be the first repeat champions since the 97-98 Detroit Red Wings. That's looking like it's going to be the case. I can't imagine that it won't be. Washington's dead in the water. They are dead in the water. They are scared to death at the thought of losing to the Penguins again, to the point where they are going to lose to the Penguins again. I have a buddy from Pittsburgh. I've been playing on an EASHL club with him for 5+ years at this point, and I know it's a Penguins fan saying this, but he compared it to the Steelers and Patriots, where yes, the Steelers have had success more than the Capitals have. But there are just some matchups, like the Steelers and Patriots, historically in the playoffs, the Patriots get the better of them. You look at Montreal and Boston, for example, the pre-Bobby Orr era, and then throughout the 80s, Montreal owned the Bruins, with the exception of one series where the Bruins finally made it to the final and lost to the Oilers. It's just there are some teams, some matchups, where you can't beat them. For whatever reason, you just cannot beat them. It's a mental block. It's just ingrained in your psyche. And that's who the Penguins are for the Caps, man. And I think the Caps are dead in the water. And again, I say this, they were my pick to win the Cup. I legitimately thought that this would finally be the year where the Caps are able to get over that hurdle. They just lost 6-2 in Game 2. They are done. They are done. And I mean, this is a Penguins team, of course, without Chris Letang. You have the interesting story, of course, of kind of like last year, where Marc-Andre Fleury was going to be the starter. But then you have a slight injury, so Matt Murray steps in and just takes over. It's the inverse this time, where Marc-Andre Fleury has looked great. He has looked great, and I know that there's, some debate over that, but he's been great for the Penguins, in my opinion at least. And I mean, one of the nicer guys in hockey. I can't say anything negative about him. If he wins a cup on his way out, god damn it. If he wins a cup on his way out, then more power to him. More power to him. But, man, just, it's weird to see the Penguins still this dominant. And then, of course, you factor in the Letang injury. The fact that they held on to Fleury, which, I mean, everyone kind of knew that there was a chance of that, because what could you possibly get for Marc-Andre Fleury that's worth, compared to the spot they're in now, where Matt Murray went down and they needed a backup? I mean, unless someone's like, hey, here's Taylor Hall, for example, or a a really high-end player or a top-notch prospect, it wasn't worth trading Marc-Andre Fleury, and that's worked out in spades for the Penguins. Penguins in 5 at this point. I legitimately don't know if the Capitals are going to win a game. Their shot output's good. But it's too big of a mental block. It is too big of a mental block for the Caps, and I think they're done. They are toast, and I feel so bad for Ovi because this is potentially the last year where they are the legitimate contenders. They are going to need to rework their roster due to the cap, and of course they'll be losing somebody. Who that is, we don't know yet. But very, very sad as a fan of Ovechkin, but even though it is like, oh, great, the Penguins are going to win again, I can't hate on Pittsburgh. I really don't have anything against the Penguins, or the Penguins fans for that matter. Speaking of not having anything against the fans or the team, as we lose to Anaheim, the Ottawa Senators up 2-0 on the New York Rangers, as I apparently did absolutely nothing that game. I'm going to get sent down sooner rather than later. But the Sens up 2-0. Because of some of the things I said, a lot of Sens fans, or a lot of people in general, just think I have something against Ottawa. I don't. I don't have anything against the Sens. It's indifference. I'm a fan of Erik Karlsson. I was a fan of Daniel Alfredsson. I don't hate the Ottawa Senators by any stretch of the imagination. Like, not even just in the, if you're looking at like, oh, teams in the Atlantic, they probably be towards the bottom. I think I have a little bit more hatred for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that's just because of the 2011 series, really. But the Ottawa Senators right now are winning. It's tough. Are they winning this series? Are the Rangers losing it? I suppose that's, it depends on how you want to phrase it. But regardless, Ottawa looking like they are going to go up against Pittsburgh in the Eastern Conference Final. And I mean, it is a good story with Craig Anderson. Pajot with 4 goals. My God. Helps that Bobby Ryan finally decided to actually be Bobby Ryan once again when Sens fans wanted him gone earlier in the season. He's stepping up when he needed to. So I don't know, man. Henrik Lundqvist looked really good at times already in this series, and of course looked good in the Habs series. But 6 goals against, that's a rough way to go. And I genuinely think that's pretty much it for the Rangers. I think they'll win at least 2 games, but Sens are the favorites at this point, and they prove me wrong yet again, which is not all that surprising. That was just, there's been a ton of these series where it's just, yeah, you could see it going either way. But after the Rangers dispatched of the Habs, kind of figured they were the favorites. Not looking like it. So, yeah, for Sens fans, I don't have anything against Ottawa. It's just indifference. And my only issue with the Bruins and the Sens, the only thing I was saying is that I think the Bruins could have won that series. That's it. They didn't. They flat out didn't. So that's it for that. But the Eastern Conference looking like it's already wrapped up. As sad as that is. You have St. Louis and Nashville in the West. Good series so far. PK Subban in Game 1. Obviously impressive. The Kevin Fiala injury was absolutely horrifying. And whether or not that comes back to really cost them, we shall see. Did I fight somebody for getting into Martin Jones' face? Get the fuck out of here, Dubinsky. But I don't really have too much to say from that series, which has kind of been the way the entire Blues postseason has gone. It's like, yeah, you don't have too much to say. It's just you're kind of waiting to see, is this the year when people didn't necessarily expect it? They sold Kevin Shattenkirk, which looked to be a decent move because he's really struggled in Washington, especially this postseason. Even before then, he was struggling, as I'm shocked that didn't go in. But nobody really expected this to be the year for the Blues. So now that that expectation is off them a little bit, will it finally be their time? Very well could be. Speaking of their time, the Edmonton Oilers. I said it on Twitter. Cam Talbot, you've proven me wrong. You have proven me wrong. They made it past the Sharks. Some people made it seem like that was an easy series and that they've already forgotten the 7-0 ass kicking. But bottom line is Cam Talbot is the real deal. He has proven that in this postseason. And if you were to tell me that we're going to see, excuse me, that we're going to see a Pittsburgh-Edmonton final, I wouldn't be surprised. I could very well see the story being, and I mentioned this, the story could be much like you saw with Gretzky and the Islanders, where Connor McDavid makes it to the final, the Oilers make it to the final, they lose to Pittsburgh. As close to a dynasty as you can get. I cannot believe Dubinsky didn't shoot that. What the hell? But Pittsburgh and Chicago, close to a dynasty as you can get in today's NHL if Pittsburgh were to win it and make it to the final against Edmonton. Again, this is all a hypothetical, but you see what I'm pointing at here. If it were a Pittsburgh-Edmonton final, do I think Edmonton would win it? No. But do I think they'd win it sooner rather than later after that series? Absolutely. So Edmonton might as well be the favorite out of the West at this point, which is shocking. Absolutely shocking. But it's been a crazy, crazy postseason so far, and I'm looking forward to it. I think the West is going to be a little bit more interesting. Just a little bit more interesting, because I genuinely think those Eastern Conference matchups, it might as well be done now. It might as well be done now. The Rangers are just out of steam, and speaking of out of steam, Washington, my God. I feel so bad for Caps fans in a way, as you have to watch your team lay an egg in the playoffs yet again. I, of course, as a Bruins fan, know what that's like. Of course, I've seen my team win a cup, so yeah, I know. But don't worry, I didn't forget what that feeling was like. It's just tragic. So was that goal. That was also quite tragic. But I did want to quickly talk about the current postseason, because we also, mainly me as a Bruins fan, I'm looking forward to the future. The expansion draft, the entry draft. And we managed to get quite a bit of information about the entry draft, didn't we? Didn't we? The reason why I didn't want to make a video specifically talking about the entry draft is it pretty much comes down to what the hell just happened. If you go on my timeline on Twitter, you'll see my live reaction. I'm still stunned, as I think most of the hockey world is at this point. The New Jersey Devils win the draft lottery. Let me repeat that. The New Jersey Devils win the draft lottery. They were 5th in odds, an 8.5% chance to end up with the first overall pick, and they did. More ridiculous. The Philadelphia Flyers moved from 13th with a 2.4% chance to end up where they did in 2nd. Then you have the Dallas Stars, who were in 8th, a 6.4% chance to move up to 3rd, and they did. It's shock that those 3 teams won, and it's shock that Colorado and Vancouver are, that they fell. It is genuine shock. For Vancouver, it's just another punch to the gut. 2 years in a row where they fall. Now, while this draft isn't, there's not that elite player. There's not a McDavid, there's not an Eichel. Well, that might be an Eichel level guy, but there's not a McDavid, there's not a Matthews. I still think it's going to be a better draft than what people are giving it credit for at this point. But still, I mean, Vancouver will end up with a decent player. It's not going to be Nolan Patrick. It's not going to be Nico Hischier. And for that, they're in a rough spot. And I feel sorry for Canucks fans at this point. I know you don't want pity from a Bruins fan. I get it. Hey, trust me, at this point, I almost wish that the Bruins missed the playoffs, because apparently they had a really, really good chance at getting the number 2 overall pick like the Flyers did. I would love to have Nolan Patrick or Nico Hischier in Boston. I would love it. But, oh, come on, get that poke. Go, Rowdy. There's no time. I wouldn't have won the race anyway. What can you say? What can you say about the draft lottery, man? It's just, for Colorado to have as bad of a season as they did and fall to 4th. For Vancouver to again get punched in the gut. For Vegas to fall to 6th A lot of people, of course, thought they might win, and people would have cried conspiracy. But for them to fall to 6th, they're not going to get that franchise-level player to build around. You could argue Hischier and Patrick wouldn't have been that anyway, but it's going to be much more difficult to market a Cody Glass or a Cale Makar as the face of your franchise as opposed to Nolan Patrick. So an interesting situation there, and you have to wonder if it will affect their plans in the expansion draft. It very well could. It very well could change what they were expecting to do. But for the New Jersey Devils, Hischier or Patrick, they both play center. You can't go wrong. Either one of them. I mean, I'm sure they'll both make the NHL roster. You would assume, you would hope. And they'll be, probably next to Taylor Hall. Which, Taylor Hall, the talisman, he's the true giver of first overall picks. It wasn't the Oilers. It was the fact that they had Taylor Hall on their team. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And good news for the Devils. I mean, the unfortunate thing is, for the Devils, what do you need? Everything. Arguably defense. Arguably defense. I mean, you have Damon Severson and a couple other guys that, are NHL level players, but you don't have that elite goalie. Sit the fuck down, Mike Ribeiro. Sit the fuck down. They're not necessarily addressing their biggest need. Of course, they're going to get help. And in getting that help, it could open up space to move somebody else to bring in that defensive help. Trade Taylor Hall for defensive help. I'm going to lose that puck before I can shoot it. Hey, there we go. That's an assist. It's about time. We haven't done anything point-wise in a long time. So that opens up some interesting spots. The Flyers, Hischier or Patrick. Unbelievable for Philly. It's reminiscent, really, of Montreal getting Galchenyuk. Which, by the way, will they trade him this offseason? Looks like it. But that could be a slight win for Colorado if the long-rumored Duchesne for Galchenyuk move happens. But for Philly, what do they need? They need goaltending. There's not that elite goalie in this draft. Of course, you do have some decent names in Michael DiPietro, Ian Scott, although his stock has fallen a little bit. But there's not that elite goalie. Not as if goalies tend to go in the first round, but on paper, there's not that can't-miss goalie. But goalies are voodoo anyway, so who knows? We might get a Hall of Famer in this draft. There's really no way to tell. But it's insane. It is absolutely insane. I'd love to be able to shoot this puck. I cannot hit the net to save my life. Unreal. And then Dallas, the biggest issue for the Stars. No goaltending, just like Philly. But I'm sure they're not going to complain about ending up with whoever they do. I mean, Miro Heiskanen, his stock has apparently really gone up, but there's so many options, so many different combinations of players inside the top 10, inside the top 20. I genuinely don't know what to expect from this draft. But for the Devils, it's envious of the Devils for being in that spot. Definitely jealous of the Flyers to, barely miss the playoffs, but still end up with an amazing pick. And then for the Dallas Stars, who knows what happens with them next season. If they could just get their goaltending figured out, they'd be good to go. Although with Lindy Ruff out, the head coaching situation, who knows what's going to happen with the Stars. But I won't hammer on about it. Colorado and Vancouver, you have the pity of the entire hockey world. that's a tough situation. Let's see though. Can we do anything here late? Just trying to get a shot on because I didn't have any help. Can we get a fight here? Can we get a fight? This is Ekholm, is it not? Can we get a fight? Don't you go after Patrick Marleau. That was Matt Irwin. It was Matt Irwin. The other thing I wanted to talk about, I talked about the playoff matchups, I talked about the lottery. NHL 18. And the survey that went out a while ago and the rumored features list. Now, I'm late to the party in talking about this because I simply wasn't going to talk about it at all. Because for the most part, with me, it's a lot of skepticism and a lot of pessimism because it's the same thing every year. They word it a certain way, and the bottom line is, changes happen. Things get cut at the last minute, like we've seen with the entrance props in EA SHL, where they had to cut the animations. They have things in the game that they don't do anything with, like the NHL moments that hung around forever, and there was a full season where they didn't contribute to that mode. And then you have to factor in that they changed the gameplay based on the EA Access trial. They changed the gameplay based on that. The game changes consistently from the EA Access trial up to December. And there's no real way of knowing what to expect from the game. That's the big issue, is the game changes so consistently. What works, you know, the effect, you know, poke check effectiveness, the checking in the game, the way the game plays itself in Ultimate Team and in EA SHL, it changes drastically with every patch. So when they sit here and they talk about new deeks in the game, is that cool? Sure. Which ones are actually going to be effective? How many deeks do you actually see in game? For the most part, it's the same handful. And every once in a while, someone will bust out one of the other random ones. But much like in FIFA, there is a meta for what skill moves, what deeks are the go-to, because they are the most effective. That's going to be the same thing here. So am I excited for new deeks? No. The skill stick, the defensive skill stick, is something I have wanted in this game for 5+ years. Am I optimistic? Yes. But it's all about its implementation. And if you guys have been around for a while and you watched my coverage of NHL 17 over last summer, where I was talking about, oh, here's this that they're talking about. They're talking about adding draft champions. You'll always hear me mention that it's about the implementation of these modes, of these features that matter, and whether or not they hit the mark. So that defensive skill stick could be nice. At launch, it could be quote-unquote overpowered, what some people consider to be overpowered, and then it gets nerfed. So for features like that, new deeks, new stick, the new defensive skill stick, for me, the biggest issue is what happens post-launch. What happens post-launch? Even if these features are implemented correctly, where does EA get their feedback from? Who do they listen to? And how does that alter the way the game plays? Because people will look at a feature, at an ability in the game in different ways. What some person views as overpowered might not actually be overpowered. They just might not know the proper counter to that. But because they'll go on a rampage on Twitter and on Reddit and on the forum and making YouTube videos, that has power. EA listens to people that, I'm just going to say flat out, they probably shouldn't be listening to. So it's tough for me to be extremely excited about something like a defensive skill stick until I see that it's properly implemented, and until I find out whether or not it's, actually going to be effective and not be nerfed at a certain point. That is the issue, is my dog wants to go outside, but damn it, I'm busy, dog. You're going to have to wait. Along with that, AI improvements. They say it every year. Why would I be excited about AI improvements? They say it every year. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I gotta run across the room. Go, dog, go, 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 go. SEAL Team 6 in this motherfucker. Alright, we're back. We're back. We're back. No jump cuts. No jump cuts. I'm too lazy. I'm too lazy. The AI improvements. The passing improvements that they also hyped up. It's all about the implementation. Every year we hear that the AI is going to be improved. And every year I'm left disappointed personally, because the AI flat out are incapable of, playing even basic defense, basic offense, situational awareness. You know, where they try to take a slap shot when they have 3 people right in their face when they're in the offensive zone. Things like that. There's a laundry list of things I could complain about with the AI. Would I love them to be right? Is the AI actually going to be better for NHL 18? I hope so. I definitely hope so. Would I like the AI to actually be consistent across the board? Of course I would. Would I like the settings in-game? You know, these settings right here that I can't change because I'm not the coach, but, you know, the D-pad settings. Would I like those to actually affect how the computers play consistently, especially in EASHL? Of course I would. I can't be optimistic that that's going to be the case until I actually get my hands on the game. So, again, you could see the reason as to why I wasn't so eager to make a video talking about this specifically. So, new deke, skill stick, AI, passing. It's all a wait-and-see thing. It is all a wait-and-see thing. They're also hyping up NHL 3s. I flat out have no interest. I don't care. Is it going to be another game mode like the Winter Classic or like NHL 94 mode that, you know, people check out for a bit and then it just dies a very quick death? Could be. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be a revolutionary mode for them. It's a wait-and-see thing, but for me, between EASHL HUTS and or EASHL Ultimate Team and franchise mode, and maybe even this, depending, despite the fact I haven't been too effective, mainly because of things like that, where the puck just explodes off my skate and goes down for an icing rather than me getting an empty net goal, I haven't been too effective, but I am still enjoying this series. But you get my point. I really wish he would have hit me on that pass. You get my point. Hold on, I'm going to focus in here for a second. I really need this goal. No, Chikrin, don't do it. Damn it, I'm not going to get an empty net goal. This is like my 8th chance to get an empty net goal. And it's just not happening. It's just not happening. But between NHL 3s, the gameplays. For franchise mode, of course, they're touting the expansion for the Vegas Golden Knights. The ability to draft your own roster, which is pretty damn cool. Whether or not they have the actual roster available at launch, it would be nice for a day 1 roster update to actually have the realistic Vegas option. And then, of course, you could also do the expansion draft for a 32nd team, which is a great addition. And, of course, you'll see most YouTube series franchise modes for the first couple of weeks will either be the Vegas expansion or the 32nd team expansion. So you'll see a lot of that. It is a nice addition. They're touting Saga, Living World. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, the last big feature they added that was supposed to give the game a more real-world feel is owner mode. And that fell flat on its face. Commentary improvements they always tout. GM Connected was rumored. I mean, sure, it would be great to see GM Connected back in the game. Whether or not that makes the final cut, who knows? I don't. It would be nice for, of course, the implementation to be better and for the menus to not take an hour and a half. That would be cool. For Ultimate Team, you have leagues. Okay, that's fine, I guess. I mean, it might make certain things easier. From my understanding, like, if the implementation is, you know, oh, you and your buddies get a league together, it's like, it could make something like the Stanley Cup Playoffs much more, you know, much more simple to track. So that would be nice, but aside from that, they also have solo challenges, which, I mean, is this basically the return of NHL moments where you complete these challenges and you get a coin boost? Is that basically what this is, without actually having to time them and have them be, you know, realistic, real-world moments? Is that what that is? I mean, if so, I do agree. Anything, and I've said this in the past, anything to be able to reward people with more coins would be nice, although I would very much like to see, why not steal from FIFA? You know, especially in terms of interface and just ease of accessibility. Oh, Rowdy, get back up. Son of a bitch, I cannot score a goal. Steal from FIFA, particularly the squad building challenges, which would actually give value to bronze and silver packs, as opposed to now, where they have no value, and most bronze players, as we get a goal, hooray, most bronze players you can't even find. Most bronze players are flat out extinct, because aside from a couple of instances there's no reason to buy bronze or silver packs. Whereas if you add squad building challenges, which you could easily do for, like, for example, marquee matchups in FIFA's squad building challenges, you'll have matchups from around the world where you have to build a team based on that league and using certain players, a certain number of players from certain teams. So from the SHL, you could do Linkoping versus HV71. And, you know, you build a team out of that. You could have an NHL and an AHL matchup and a German league matchup, and then you get reward packs for completing those. Imagine that. All of a sudden, SHL players, DEL players, AHL players would actually have some value. Imagine that. I genuinely don't see why they couldn't just copy that. That's been one of the biggest issues they've had, is just those cards not having value. I mean, you took away the collections, which is fine, I guess. I don't know what the issue was with people getting reward packs. I genuinely don't understand that. But, I mean, for me, it's just, you need to add more. You need to add more. You need to make all cards worth having. All cards need to have at least some value, flat out. That's the way it is. Then you have skill games and tutorials. That's fine. I mentioned that last year as well in the build-up to this. The more skill games, the more tutorials, the better. The better. And I do think, you know, I mean, like, FIFA has the FIFA trainer. This has its own on-ice trainer. And all that's good. All that is good as long as the information is actually helpful. Of course, what the trainer suggests will, you know, for the most part, not be too helpful when it comes to understanding the meta of this game and what you want to attempt to go for, where the high quality chances are, and stuff like that. But any extra tutorial stuff is fine. But as you can tell, just from that short list alone, that was a terrible pass on my part. Not a tremendous amount of optimism from me, because most of it is wait and see, and then other information is like, yeah, that's okay, but I'd rather see different improvements to that particular mode. Franchise mode in general needs to just flat out be more difficult and be more realistic. The scouting system needs a drastic overhaul. The re-sign phase needs an overhaul. Free agency, trading, it needs an overhaul. Flat out. It needs to be more difficult. It needs to be... You need to make it more difficult to just not dominate the mode, which is what happens in franchise mode, is eventually, whether through draft pick hoarding or just, you know, being basically draft pick hoarding to be able to get, you know, top picks, to trade for best players. It's a vicious cycle. There's just so many other things. And I'm sorry that this isn't the most, I can't even think of the proper word because I'm trying to focus on not sucking in the gameplay here. And it's not the most thought out response to this, but then again, I mean, it's not scripted. It just, because why? Why bother? It's more of the same. NHL 18, am I going to get the game? Of course I am. Of course I am. Whether I was doing YouTube or not, I have bought every NHL game since I was a kid. And, you know, I am still in my 20s. So I have been buying, it's not like I've been one of these guys that's, you know, been buying NHL since 1995, although my dad did. You know, I had NHL 94 and stuff like that growing up. Yeah, we're taking that fight. Chason, get over here. Chason, get over here. I had a scoring chance, but we'll just knock the hell out of Alex Chason instead. Highest difficulty for fights, my ass. Chason, you are going down. You are fucked with a capital PH. Sit down, Chason. Sit down. Finally. It's been a long time since we've gotten a fight with Rowdy in this series. But man, I think now I can actually focus on the rest of the game here if I actually get another chance to be on the ice. But aside from that, I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. And we are going to overtime, so that's lovely. Swig of Arnold Palmer. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. Like I said, if I can ever get an Arnold Palmer, an Arizona iced tea, Arnold Palmer, half and half sponsorship, my life will be complete. Just throwing that out there. But between the NHL 18 features, it's all wait and see, and we'll see what the final product of the game is, and we'll We'll see what the product is 3 months after launch is. We'll see what the product is 3 weeks after launch, whenever that first patch hits and whenever the first tuner update hits. It's all a wait and see, but one way or another, I'll be getting the game, and it'll be more of the same, where you look for the positives to carry you through the year until the next game, where you begin the vicious cycle of, you know, speculation of features and all that. It's just the way the EA system works. What a save, though, by Martin Jones. All right, here we go. Backlund, get off me. Backlund, fuck you. Rowdy. Oh, my God. Such a good chance. Such a good chance. We got to get off the ice. Coach is already pissed at me. I don't believe I'm in the shootout lines. So that might have been my last chance in this game and in this episode. We will find out. It is indeed going to a shootout. Like I said, I don't think we're in the lines. We weren't the last time we went to a shootout. But maybe that's changed. I have scored a goal since then. Johnny Gaudreau up first for the Flames. Save by Jones. Followed him very well. Joe Pavelski, our captain, up first. And... oh, Joe. That was pretty shit. That was pretty shit. Mark Giordano up for the Flames. And Martin Jones just... he saw the poke check work on the other end of the ice, so I guess he thought he had a chance. He didn't really commit to it. Are we up? No, we're not. It's Tomas Hertl. Can he score? No, he can't. We suck in the shootout. We suck in the shootout. For the win, it's Sean Monahan. And no, he loses a handle on it. All right, can Rowdy get a chance, or is it Joe Thornton? It's Joe Thornton. All right, come on, Jumbo. Come on. Nope. Too many moves. Too many moves. And the Sharks fall in overtime. Unfortunate. We did at least get a goal, which is nice. We don't have too many of those. We don't have too many points in general. We got the goal. We got the fight. But in the end, we fall short. We were the third star of the game, though. 3 hits and a goal. Not too bad. We continue along in this season. Right now, let's take a look at our record. I'm still waiting to get sent down. It's going to happen. 4-4-3 record. 4-4-3 record. We still have a long way to go, but another Eastern, actually after this, another Eastern road trip, Washington, Florida, and Tampa. But for now, guys, that will do it for this episode of a very Rowdy Be a Pro series. Let me know what you thought of the, gameplay in general and what you think we should do moving forward. But also what I talked about, the rumored NHL 18 features, the draft lottery, and the playoffs that are currently ongoing anyway. Guys, that'll do it for this one. I hope you did enjoy. Of course, if you did, make sure to hit that like button to help support me and the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already to continue following this series and others. Did I fuck up that outro? I'm trying to think. I said leave a like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already to continue following this series and others. And I'll see you guys next time. Yeah, that's how the normal outro goes. Right. A+ outro from me. A+. I'll catch you guys next time.